Greeting game designers. In this video, we're going to cover how to weld the hands to the arms that we created for the male model. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is go ahead and unhide my male model and maybe unhide my references for now. And as you can see, our hand is way too big because we were modeling it. Now is the time we're going to go ahead and scale and move it where we want. Okay. If you have these references issues, just go ahead and click on smooth, flat shading, and hardware texturing, and that will fix if you have issues with your references. Okay, so let's go ahead and go ahead and click on the hand, and we're going to go ahead and go to the channel box and scale it down a little bit. So use the R tool here, and we're going to scale it down to what we think the proportion is, and then we're going to go ahead and move it. So I'm going to move it over here, maybe frame it over here, and then move it up, frame it and move it up. Here we go. Let's see from the side view here, and see it from here, see it from here. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is go ahead and rotate it. I believe it will be a 90-degree rotation along the y-axis, and I am right. And let's go ahead and move it a little bit this way and really close to the wrist. Let's go ahead and go back to poly view and just make sure that we have a good idea of what these things look like. I'm going to use my front view again and kind of center it right there. Okay, and it looks like I give myself a little bit more gap here, and I'm going to go ahead and scale it down a little bit more because it's obviously still too big. And I'm going to move it again, get it nice and centered. And maybe just a little more scale. Okay, and there we go. Actually, I don't know. This hand looks kind of too small now. Let's go ahead and scale up a little bit. Maybe our wrist is a little bit too small. Kind of figure out how big the hands are going to be. Maybe use my reference here. Probably need to scale up a little bit. Maybe I'll turn on my other group here. I'm going to hide my group number 1. And if you followed my video, we were using kind of tilted the reference and kind of grouped the second one. So maybe my hand is just way too small overall. So let's go ahead and scale it up a little bit here. And that looks about right. Okay. All right. And we can fix our wrist later, and if we need to taper this in, we can taper in later. Okay. All right. So that's about the size of the hand. Okay. All right. So before we go ahead and duplicate this left hand to turn it into the right hand, let's go ahead and fix our topology. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off my reference now. Turn off my reference. And let's just use my perspective view here and really hone in on this hand. Okay. All right. Can I get my view the way I want it? Did I accidentally move it? Yeah, I did. Let's move it back. Okay. So let's go and go to vertex mode. And you can see how many vertices are on the inside of the hand. So it looks like we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 vertices for 8 vertices inside the armhole. So if you look at the armhole over here, okay, we have an octagon, and you can count here we have 8 vertices. So so it looks like we're going to need to change the topology of the hand to kind of match the topology of the arm. So I need to basically reduce the number of vertices. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to vertex mode, and I'm actually going to click on all 3 of these top points. I'm going to merge them and kind of form a triangle. So I'm going to click on this right here, and that grabs all those 3 points and makes it into one center point. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to move my camera around. And I think I can kind of do it from this view right here. Grab that point, and these 3 points here on the bottom, and we're going to go ahead and merge those to center. Okay, so if we're looking at just the hand, I'm going to frame the hand here. You can see that we have 6 vertices now. Okay, and we have one on the top, the upper left, the upper right, lower left, lower right, and whatnot. So now we're going to create 2 more vertices. So now we have 6 to 8. We reduced the number of vertices, but we want to create one right here. So we're actually going to go ahead and use our multi-cut tool and create it. So I'm going to go to the multi-cut tool, which is right here, and I'm going to hold shift and click right here. I'm going to hold shift, and this probably go into the corner, make an extra edge, probably right here. Okay, and hit enter. And I want to leave that a polygon here, so we'll do that. Okay, I'm going to rotate to the other side. I'm going to hold shift here, and we're going to click on like the lower left corner or something. That's weird. Let's go ahead and see again. There we go. Looks like I was click on 2 points. Okay, and then go ahead and enter. So now if you look at where we're going to weld this hand, it now has 8, 3 on the side, 2 in the middle, and 3 on this side. That makes 8. And now we kind of matches the way we were doing Homer. We have 1 on the top, 1 on the bottom, 1 on the upper right, 1 on the upper left, 1 on the right, 1 on the left, 1 on the lower right, and 1 on the lower left. And now there's going to be an easy weld. Okay? All right. So let's go ahead and now remind us how to duplicate, right? So if I go and zoom out, I don't have a left arm. So we're going to go ahead and just go to object mode here, go to our select tool, and let's go ahead and reset all of these values, okay? Reset all of these values. I'm going to do that by clicking this little frost button right here. It's to freeze transformation and turn them all back to 0s and 1s. If you hit the W key, you'll see that the pivot is in the center of the object, and we're going to change that using modify and click on reset transformation. That will now reset the pivot to the center of the world, and now we can now use our duplicate special. So I'm going to go to edit, duplicate special, and click on this little box here, and I'm going to do the same thing I've been doing, which is a copy, a parent, and I'm going to use a -1 scale and hit apply. And now that creates the arm, and now we're going to weld. Now actually I think on my previous exercise I made a mistake where I didn't turn on symmetry, and you can see that my object is no longer symmetrical. Like I probably worked over here and somehow I turned off symmetry and it no longer kept symmetry. So you always don't have to do this, but if you ever run into this issue where you lost symmetry, actually a good opportunity to teach you guys how to fix this. So if I have the chest piece selected, I can go to face tool, and this again, don't do this unless you you also screwed up your symmetry, and you're going to click pretty close to the center line here and select all these faces, okay, and go ahead and hit delete. Okay, it will literally delete the entire left side here. And what I'm going to do now is go back to object mode, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to mirror this object over to this side. Okay, so I'm going to go to mesh and go to mirror special. You're going to I think the default has cut geometry checked. You're going to uncheck it, so it's a copy. You're going to mirror the position. If you're going to mirror the left side of the body to the right side of the body, or from our view, the right side to the left side. We're going to use mirror in the negative x direction. And we're going to have combined with the original, use the automatic tool, and go ahead and hit apply. And what you see now is it will mirror this right side to this left side. So I kind of fixed my problem without having to go in there and like fix everything like I did on this side, and you never even really keep symmetry otherwise. Now let's go ahead and just do a quick test and see if I click on this vertex and I go to the modeling tool and go to symmetry object X. You can see that any point I click on has a mirroring image to the other side, and that tells me that I do have symmetry. Another thing you can do is click on the center point here, and you can see that the number of vertices right here is 1. So that means that this is not 2 vertices overlapping each other, that the algorithm did work and merge all the vertices in the center line. Okay, so back to what we were doing. Sorry about that kind of detour here. I'm going to go back and look at this hand right here. We used the scale tool -1, and you can see right here that the x is still -1, and we don't want that, because if we import this into Unity, it will probably flip the hand inside out or something like that. So let's go ahead and freeze transformation again. So we have a bunch of 0s and 1s. Okay, so now I have all 3 things ready to go ahead and start welding. So before you can weld, you have to obviously click on all 3 meshes here. You can do it in your perspective views or just click on the objects in your outliner using control. Okay, and you're going to go to mesh and you're going to combine the mesh. And now we're going to get a chance to come in there and make sure that we have symmetry object X on so that we're repeating the work. And we're going to go in there and we're going to start welding. Okay, so again, I have 8 vertices here and 8 vertices here. Let's go ahead and actually go to face tool. I think I forgot to cut out the armholes here, and we should actually cut out all the faces. So I'm going to select these faces here and delete. Okay, select these faces here, hit delete, and now I don't have these extra faces on the inside, and I can weld. And a little bit actually helps me even weld it a little bit easier. Okay, so we're going to go to target weld, and we're going to, in this case, I want to go to center. Okay, I want to merge it to center, or do I want to fix the arm a little bit, fix the wrist a little bit? Actually, I want to fix the wrist a little bit. So I'm actually going to change my mind. I'm going to go to edge control here, and I'm going to double click the edge. Okay, that didn't let me click an edge ring anymore. Okay, so let's go ahead and use our vertex tool. And I'm going to use my front view here. And I'm going to click on, go to my move select tool. And I'm going to double click on, maybe I can't click on my edge. Yeah, if I double click, I have my select tool on. I click on, double click on this edge. It'll click on the entire edge ring. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to scale it. Okay, I'm going to scale it so that it makes kind of a more ovalish shape for my hand. Okay, so maybe I should do it to all these edge rings. I'm going to go to my select tool, and actually I'm going to see if I can double click multiple edge rings. So I double clicked, hold down shift, double left click this one, hold down shift, double click this one, and hold down shift and double click on this one. I can click on all 3 rings next to the wrist, and I'm going to use my R tool and kind of scale it more wide. Okay. You can look from my front view here that it's, you know, just wide enough, and I'm going to kind of decrease the thickness. So you can see from this view here, you know, lower down the wrist like that. So now when I go ahead and connect these vertices, my wrist will be much closer to what my hand will be. Okay, so let's go ahead and go back and go to vertex mode again, and now it kind of, you know, tapered and turned it into more ovalish rings here, and now we can go ahead and use our target weld. So I'm going to use target weld, and in this case I'm going to use center, and make sure I go back here and I don't have anything selected. I'm going to go to here. Oop, I have too many things selected there. Undo that. Yep. And now connect to here. So I welded the top point together, and now you can kind of, you know, make sure you hit frame if you're having problems with your view. Okay, and I'm going to connect those 2 together, connect these 2 together, go down here and connect those 2 together, connect these two together and kind of rotate my camera this way. Connect these two together, connect these two together, and connect these two together. And now we have our wrist. Okay, so maybe I'm going to go ahead and turn on my reference again and just see if anything's kind of overall wrong with my hand that I might want to do some finishing touches on. Looking at this view, it's definitely probably too skinny of a wrist around this area. So now I'm going to go back and let's go back and click on the object, click on my select tool. These edge rings are probably a little bit too skinny. So I'm going to use my edge tool and I'm going to double click on this edge ring right here and make sure that it's clicked around up, and it did not click all the way around. So this no longer works, probably because we were editing and merging them, so it no longer keeps the edge loop. So I can just go back to vertex mode and just click on all these vertices right here. Okay, you can use the side view as well over here. You know, if you want to use the front view and select all these vertices, as long as your object X is on, it's going to do it to both sides. I'm going to use the scale tool again, and I'm going to kind of thicken it out because it's not quite thick enough. The wrist is too small. Okay. Okay. And actually, since we're here, might as well just click on all of these. Let's go ahead and click on all of these and kind of scale it a little bit thicker. Okay. Okay. And, you know, kind of look at your own hand and see what you think. Maybe this part is a little bit thinner. Let's see, what's our reference say? My reference looks a lot better. Yeah. There we go. Maybe this one, maybe make it a little bit thicker there. Okay. But definitely much better than we had it before. And there you have it. We now merged the hands to the body. We learned a few extra tricks to kind of fix symmetry here. Let's go ahead and go to object mode. And let's go ahead and use our smooth view and kind of see what the whole thing looks like. Okay. So I'm going to actually let's hide my reference for a minute. And now you can kind of see the body and the curves of our male model. Okay. Looking good, looking good. Okay. All right.